I know deep down that I'm excited to go to training and I want to go to training. There's nothing I'd rather be doing at 4:30 than going to training. I wouldn't wake up for anything else, but it is a struggle, especially when sometimes it's just those 4 or 5.5 hours of sleep and I go to another training. So it's rough, but I don't try and focus on like how terrible I feel. I just go with it with what the best I can do at that moment, and I see it as it's just part of the journey, and I know that I would rather be at the pool training than sleeping at home. My journey towards triathlon was a very hectic one. It was unpredictable. I never thought that I would be doing triathlon from the beginning. Essentially, I was born in Canada, and that's where I grew up. For 15 years I was there, and my parents had moved there as well. And that's where I spent my time as a competitive swimmer. I started out with the swim club, University of Calgary Dinos, and I swam there competitively for 10 years. And then when I moved to Slovakia, my initial plan was I'm going to continue swimming. Like, that's what I want to do. I like competitive swimming. The sport I enjoy it. I like to go to those trainings. But then when I joined the club here in Slovakia, JNT, I found that it wasn't really a fit for me, and I didn't like it there as much as I had hoped that I would, and I just decided like I didn't want to continue. So my mother happened to call my current coach, Coach Maros.
I introduced myself and told him a little bit about Diana. He asked about her background, and he asked if I can bring her, if she can come to the next morning practice, and I called in the evening. So, and I said, okay, I'll just ask Diana if she's ready, she wants to go. And she immediately said, yes, of course, sure, let's go.
Tvoje telo je oddychnuté. Ty nemusíš robiť nič. Po slepiačky tam môžeš dojsť a odplávať. Ja viem, že ti to hlava nebere, ale tak toto je.
Dobre, okay.
Welcome to the European Cup in Kielce. We have lots of athletes from New Zealand, from Australia, from USA, and also as well from Slovakia, Diana Dunajska.
Povedzme si úprimne, je tu najmladšia v štartovom poli, úplne najmladšia. A dievčatá sú tu v priemere o 6 až 8 rokov staršie ako ona. Čiže pre mňa dôležitý rešpekt, aby si získala medzi predbiegarkami a ona stratila ten rešpekt. To je úloha číslo 1. To naokolo, lebo tu nie sú žiadne bubliny, tu sú bubliny, vieš? Keby náhodou, dobre? Takže vonkajšia strana, áno?
My journey to this race it's been really quick. We've really gone here just for those 2 times 20 minutes that I'll be racing. And all that I've managed to do in that time since I've landed was go to the swim familiarization. And then tomorrow morning I'll go to the bike familiarization as part of my warm-up, not only to just see the track, but also I like to go for a 40-minute bike ride usually before my races. And then I'll be off to the masses, and I'll be going. Well, the swim portion was actually surprisingly good, if only all races could be like that. I had chosen the position farthest to the left-hand side, well, second to the farthest left-hand side. So I didn't have to fight with anybody in the water. I just swam my own tempo. The strategy was that I would go on a long, strong stroke for the first 150, 200 meters. Swim even like further around the buoys, that way I wouldn't have to be in the mess that's in the middle where everybody's fighting for a position. And that's how I ended up going. I immediately, after the first 50 meters or so, was one of the first few, so maybe fourth position. And then gradually, as we passed through those turns, I had enough space around me. I was able to basically swim as if I was in a pool, but it was open water. And then going into the last 200 meters, I picked up the pace a little bit, my stroke rate went up, I was kicking, and I was able to go second out of the water. And so I'm satisfied with that. Well, coming straight out of the water, it was, I was actually excited, as always, because I know that my transition is fast, and so immediately I started running as best as I could. I was first into the transition area, and so that always gives me a little bit of internal peace, because I know that I can take off the wetsuit and I have enough time to get my helmet on and everything. And then onto the bike, like the mount onto the bike was okay. I didn't fall or anything. I also have a pretty good mount compared to the other girls. I know that some of them sometimes they come to a complete dead stop and then they kind of climb onto their bike. And so I have to be aware of that, whether I have to go further or around them. And then, yeah, it was a pretty smooth transition. I'm happy with it. It was my usual performance, I would say. It was fast and it was luckily without issue. The run portion, I was disappointed from it this time. It was quite unexpected. What had happened is that after about 700 meters, I had a stitch in my side, so like the muscles were starting to cramp up on my right side, which happens when I'm experiencing more stress. My shoulders are higher, I'm just like curled in, I'm not breathing out all of the CO2 as I am racing. Even though the pace wasn't my maximum speed, and I knew that in other races I had gone through further limits before, the stress level is different now, and so I know that it's a component of that, and I know that I need to keep working on it and do my best mentally to keep myself calm, in control, and remind myself that, you know, there's nothing to lose and that I am capable of running the performance that I need to do. So other than the fact that I had the stitch in my side, then I'm pleased with the race. Yeah, it's official, 8th place as far as I know, unless somebody gets dropped out of the ranking after the anti-doping. But yeah, I wanted the top 10 and that's what I've gotten now, and I think that I did my best performance that I could at that time, so I'm pleased. For these two races, it felt like actual racing. Like, I was glad that I was able to actually compete with the elite category. It wasn't as, it was more stressful and it was more difficult, and mentally as well, to prepare, to be focused. I felt like the second start, I wasn't all there. I wasn't as locked in as I had been before. I feel like it was more chaotic, but it was better than just the Slovak or Czech races. In 2 weeks at Wells, I'll be starting there. It's my 3rd year that I'll be starting again in the elite category, and I can't wait. Okay, so right now I'm in basically my main training zone center for the racing season, in the high altitude room basically. So this is like a high altitude chamber where they simulate like a different elevation, which we can set up according to what we need. And essentially what it does is it takes out the oxygen in the room, so that there's not as much for me to work with. And therefore my body is forced to create more red blood cells. And that way when I'm racing at a lower altitude, or the lower elevation, suddenly there's an abundance of oxygen and I have extra red blood cells. And so it becomes as if I have an additional boost of energy that I didn't have before. And so it enhances my performance when I go to the lower elevation.
Kde by si mala látať? Vypni si.
No neviem, 0,9.
Hej. Vieš, čo to znamená?
Nie. Už som vyregenerovala.
Presne tak.
No.
Že svaly si pripravila na sobotu. A ja to nemením dosrať vôbec. Ja som ten, či to šetrí.
Ja
Ty
viem.
si tá, ktorá nakladá na sobotu.
Nie.
Vieš?
Ja idem presne to, čo mi hovoríš.
Málo? Málo?
Áno.
Ale povedz mi to po anglicky, prosím ťa.